ẹ bá mi pè é o. kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? rédíò. gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. lórí WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, lórí X, lórí YouTube, lórí TikTok. kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? ẹ bá mi pè é o. rédíò. gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ àfínjú. 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 rédíò àfínjú. rédíò àfínjú. rédíò àfínjú.
When heavy rain begin fall and plenty water full everywhere, dey alert my people, shine your eyes as e dey happen for other places e fit reach your side.
Má ṣe da ìdọ̀tí sójú àgbàrá, gbé ilẹ̀ rẹ fún àwọn ọkọ̀ akólẹ̀.
No go put yourself for danger dey waka for flooded roads.
Gbọ́ o, ǹjẹ́ tó bá rí ẹnikẹ́ni tó hùwà tó lòdì sí òfin àmójútó ìdọ̀tí àti ẹ̀gbin, ẹ fi tó àwọn aláṣẹ létí. Report to the nearest authorities.
Má ṣe da ìdọ̀tí sójú àgbàrá.
Ìlera lọ́rọ̀. This awareness is brought to you by Radio Afinju.
Wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju, the time is 3 p.m.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Senate halts action on tax bill, sets meeting to resolve contentious issues. Namibia elects first female president in disputed poll. Trump considers replacing Hegseth with DeSantis to run Pentagon. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. The Senate leadership has directed its Committee on Finance to suspend further action on the proposed tax bill pending the outcome of a high-level meeting with the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF. The Deputy Senate President, Barau Jibrin, who made the announcement during plenary, disclosed that a special committee has been constituted to address contentious issues in the bill, with the meeting scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday, December 5. The decision follows a series of deliberations by lawmakers aimed at resolving disagreements over key provisions in the proposed legislation. The contentious areas have sparked debates among stakeholders in the last couple of days. In addition, the Senate leadership announced plans to convene a special meeting to be held at the National Assembly and chaired by the minority leader to address all areas of disagreement. The meeting is expected to serve as a platform for lawmakers to harmonize their positions and ensure that the bill aligns with national priorities while addressing stakeholder concerns. The federal government has announced plans to establish a climate division within the Ministry of Women's Affairs to spearhead sustainable, gender-responsive and age-sensitive climate initiatives. The ministry is also set to launch a Women in Green Economy project in 2025, aiming to empower 1 million women in climate-smart agriculture and train 2,000 community-based female climate champions. The Minister for Women's Affairs, Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, disclosed this earlier during her address at the ongoing United Nations Convention to combat desertification in Riyadh. Iman highlighted Nigeria's recent strides in combating climate change, including enacting the Climate Change Bill, establishing the National Council on Climate Change, and launching the Energy Transition Plan. The minister further noted that President Bola Tinubu is committed to addressing climate change and has established a committee to oversee the Green Economic Initiative, a strategic plan to tackle climate challenges in Nigeria. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has called off its planned strike in Akwa Ibom State after Governor Umo Eno signed a new minimum wage agreement with organised labour ahead of the deadline. NLC Akwa Ibom chairman Sonny James announced the development in Uyo, the state capital. He stated that the state government has agreed to pay a new minimum wage of 80,000 naira starting from November 1, 2024. Additionally, the monthly pension for retirees has been increased by 32,000 naira. The agreement also ensures retirees benefit from the improved package, aligning with a circular issued on September 27 by the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission. The NLC commended Governor Eno for his swift action, emphasizing that workers are committed to enhancing productivity and service delivery in return. With this resolution, the indefinite strike planned for December 4, 2024 has been suspended and workers have been directed to resume duties immediately. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has demanded the immediate release of a detained human rights lawyer and activist, Dele Farotimi, by the Nigerian Police Force (NPF). The NBA, which is the umbrella body of legal practitioners in the country, in a statement by its president, Afam Osigwe, SAN, said it was deeply concerned that Farotimi was arrested over illegal libel. Contending that defamation had since been decriminalized in Lagos State, the NBA maintained that Farotimi's arrest was not only in clear violation of legal principles, but an affront to the rule of law. An advocate for women affairs and childbirth control, Durotoye Adeyemi, has enjoined the entire populace, especially newly married couples, to endeavor to have a mutual understanding before venturing into the lifelong agreement. She made this known while featuring on Radio Afinju's Yoruba Current Affairs program, Gbagede Oro, where she posited that every married couple should ensure they promote birth control, thereby enhancing proper child upbringing. Adeyemi, while stressing that a child's upbringing is not all about money, but mental alertness, emphasized the importance of birth control and its effectiveness. She also emphasized that apart from a reduction in house chores, birth control also gives parents time to understudy their child. In the same vein, an advocate for gender-based equality and war against human rights infringement, Adebisi Ademola also affirmed that African culture, religion and beliefs also play a major role in instigating violence against human rights. He maintained that the societal belief of leaders keeping mute when a man is talking is also gender-based violence. Bandits today planted a fresh set of explosives along Dansadel-Gusau Road in Zamfara State, killing travelers. Gory pictures on social media showed victims of the blast lying lifeless by the roadside as passers-by looked on in shock and despair. This comes after it was reported days ago how fear of insecurity gripped residents of Dansadel Emirate under the Maru local government area of the state, following reports that armed bandits operating in the region now deploy explosives as part of their tactics. Away Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, has been voted in as Namibia's first female president after last week's disputed election. The Electoral Commission said she had won more than 57% of votes, with her closest rival, Panduleni Itula, getting 26%. Following logistical problems and a 3-day extension to polling in some parts of the country, Itula said the electoral process was deeply In Asia, South Korea's opposition lawmakers have begun impeachment proceedings against President Yoon Yeol over his failed attempt to impose martial law. The country woke up to an uncertain reality after a night of unprecedented scenes where Yoon unexpectedly imposed martial law, 190 lawmakers gathering to vote it down, and a sudden reversal of the decision. After tabling the impeachment motion, South Korea's main opposition Democratic Party condemned Yoon's initial martial law declaration as insurrectionary behavior. Information has it that Parliament will have to vote on whether to impeach Yoon by Saturday. China and the Philippines gave conflicting versions earlier of a maritime confrontation around a contested shoal in the South China Sea, the latest row in a long-standing dispute between the neighbors. According to Philippines officials, Chinese Coast Guard vessels fired water cannons and sideswiped a Manila Fisheries Bureau boat on the way to deliver supplies to Filipino fishermen in the area, a move that drew condemnation from the United States. The incident follows a diplomatic spat in November after China drew baseline territorial waters around the prime fishing patch of the Scarborough Shoal and submitted nautical charts this week to the United Nations, setting out its claim, which Manila said was baseless and illegal. In the United Kingdom, police said former British nurse Lucy Letby, who is serving a whole life sentence in prison for murdering 7 babies in her care, has been questioned about the deaths of more infants. Letby, 34 years old, was found guilty last year of killing the newborns and attempting to murder 7 more between July 2015 and June 2016, while working in the neonatal unit of the Countess of Chester Hospital in Chester, Northern England, making her Britain's worst serial child killer of modern times. She was convicted of an 8th count of attempted murder at a retrial earlier this year. At the time of a conviction, police said they were carrying out further investigations into the whole time Letby had worked as a nurse at the hospital and at another one in Liverpool, where she had trained to identify if there were any more victims. In Europe, the French government is facing a no-confidence vote after Prime Minister Michel Barnier pushed through budget measures without parliamentary approval. If the measures passes as is expected, it would mark the first time a French government has been removed this way in more than 60 years. The National Assembly is due to vote after debating 2 motions introduced by the left-wing camp and far-right nationalists, which together count more than 330 politicians. A no-confidence motion requires at least 288 or 574 votes to pass. The far-right National Rally, RN, of 3-time presidential candidate Marine Le Pen, is expected to vote for the motion put forward by the left, giving it enough numbers to pass. Meanwhile, President Emmanuel Macron is set to return to France from a state visit to Saudi Arabia during the day. In the Americas, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is considering dropping his nominee to lead the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, and nominating Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in his place. Hegseth's nomination has run into trouble on Capitol Hill over allegations about his personal and professional life, and Trump allies increasingly think Hegseth may not survive further scrutiny. Reports said combat veteran and former Fox News host Hegseth would need the support of Senate Republicans to win confirmation to the post. DeSantis, who lost his bid for the Republican presidential nomination to Trump, was on an earlier list of potential defense secretary candidates, but Trump decided to go with Hegseth. DeSantis served in the Navy's George Advocate General Corps from 2004 to 2010. Sean Combs has been accused in a new lawsuit of dangling a woman from the 17th floor balcony of an apartment during an altercation. The lawsuit filed in Los Angeles by fashion designer Brianna Bongolan alleges the incident happened in 2016 while she was at the home of Combs' then-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura. It is the latest in more than 24 lawsuits accusing Combs of several offenses, including sexual assault, drugging people, threatening witnesses, and causing physical harm. The music mogul is also facing federal charges in a racketeering and sex trafficking scheme. He has denied all allegations, including the latest claim. A representative told reporters that he firmly denies these serious allegations in the new lawsuit and remains confident they will ultimately be proven baseless. In the Middle East, Iranian authorities have allowed Narges Mohammadi, the country's most prominent human rights activist and 2023 Nobel Peace Prize winner, to leave prison for 21 days to recover from surgery for suspected cancer, a decision her family has criticized as too little, too late. An Iranian prosecutor had suspended Mohammadi's prison term for 3 weeks instead of the 3 months requested by family and lawyers, to allow her to recover from an operation she had in November to remove part of a bone in her lower right leg, where doctors had discovered the lesion suspected of being cancerous. Mohammadi's family told newsmen that she had been left unable to walk, and the activist had to pay the ambulance fee, which was not subsidized by Iranian authorities. Meanwhile, Israeli tanks pushed into northern parts of the Khan Yunis area in the south of the Gaza Strip earlier in the day, and Palestinian medics said Israeli airstrikes had killed at least 20 people across the enclave. Residents disclosed that tanks advanced 1 day after the Israeli military issued new evacuation orders, saying there had been rocket launches from the area. With shells falling near residential areas, families left their homes and headed westward towards the humanitarian designated area of Al-Mawasi nearby. Medics said 11 people were killed in 3 airstrikes on areas in central Gaza, including 6 children and 1 medic, while 5 of the dead had been queuing outside a bakery. Medics said a further 9 Palestinians were killed by tank fire in Rafah near the border with Egypt. Hospital director Hussam Safiya said Israeli forces fired on the Kamal Adwan Hospital in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza for the 5th successive day, adding that 3 of his medical staff had been wounded, 1 critically last night. Now talking sports. Junichi Inamoto, the first Japanese player to play in the Premier League, will retire at the end of the season, the 45-year-old announced on a social media post. The midfielder earned 82 international caps and scored the winner in Japan's first win in the World Cup in a 1-0 victory over Russia in 2002. Inamoto played his first match in England's top flight league at Fulham the same year, after an underwhelming season at Arsenal. He also played for West Bromwich Albion, Cardiff City, Galatasaray, Stade Rennes and other European clubs before returning to Japan in 2010. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Senate leadership has directed its Committee on Finance to suspend further action on the proposed tax bill pending the outcome of a high-level meeting with the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF. Elsewhere, Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah from the governing Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, has been voted in as Namibia's first female president after the last week's disputed election. In the Americas, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is considering dropping his nominee to lead the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, and nominating Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in his place. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow us on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Radio Afinju. My name is Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon.